Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be, and welcome to a post about how to unethically market your books. Have you ever wondered how certain new authors get hundreds of Amazon and Goodreads reviews? It turns out that if you spend $100 on NetGalley and $100 on Book Tasters, you will get 10 reviews posted to Amazon and Goodreads. If you manage to pay for 20 reviews on both platforms, around $400, you will be eligible to buy even more reviews through a BookBub promotion. If you have $30,000 to spare, I've heard that you can even buy your way onto the New York Times bestseller list by having a service buy copies of your books from a handful of stores right after you publish. I'm sure that there are many more services like this, and maybe some are legitimate. I haven't looked into BookFunnel, Hidden Gems, or Authors XP, but I can't understand why Amazon, the owner of Goodreads, hasn't put a stop to this. The big publishing houses certainly aren't putting a stop to it because they even use some of these services. Maybe Amazon is in on the deal and they are being clever, corralling authors and publishers who purchase reviews into one big batch so that they can delete them all at once, or at least delete their reviews. To their credit, Amazon has gone medieval on those who work as professional paid reviewers with verified purchases, completely banning them from the platform. But since those who deliver reviews via NetGalley and Book Tasters are only indirectly compensated through free books and special prizes for delivering good reviews, they operate in a gray area. They aren't directly paid for their reviews, even though the author paid for their reviews and handpicked the reviewers. For example, if a reviewer tends to post negative reviews, they will not typically be chosen by the authors who use the service. This issue is a bit personal for me because the author who used a ghostwriter to steal and rewrite the 30-point plot from my first novel has 250 reviews, and I have 8. I watched his number of Twitter followers climb from 25,000 to 90,000 over the course of a week, indicating that he has purchased his followers. Even though his tweets rarely get more likes than mine, the illusion of success he has created hardly seems fair. He even created or paid to use fake news websites that reviewed his books and interviewed him. I've been confused by all of this since many of his reviewers specified their use of NetGalley or Book Tasters or ARC, Advanced Reader Copy. So if Amazon wanted to delete all of his purchased reviews, they could just grep and delete any review with those keywords, or they could delete all reviews from non-verified purchases. It would be really easy, and I wonder why they don't do this. I also wondered why they didn't take my complaint seriously about his form of plagiarism. It's harder to catch because it isn't verbatim when somebody takes 30 points of a book, 30 plot points in order. But yeah, that's a different issue altogether. What I wonder is if Amazon or some other entity is collecting data on all of this, or on all of us, and ranking us according to our willingness to engage in this form of immoral behavior. What I find funny is that the authors who used these review purchasing schemes ended up with their pictures on the Book Tasters website in a sort of hall of shame. I just had to scroll down and there he was on the Book Tasters website, my plagiarist. He was at the top of the purchased review buyers in the historical fiction section for one of his many books. He published them all within a couple of years, and I've learned that the people who publish multiple books per year tend to have some bad habits. I wonder if those bad habits will come back to haunt him someday, and it's just a matter of time, or if I will never see justice in my lifetime. Maybe he is just one of those people who lacks shame and who gets a kick out of gaming the system or running a con. I wonder if he profited, or if, because he certainly spent a lot of money on online services. For example, he paid a book translation service to get his bastardized version of my novel translated into several languages. And what is interesting is that instead of 250 reviews, the translations all have less than 10 reviews and they are all negative, except for the suspiciously positive reviews that are written in English for a book that is published in Italian. I've pointed all of this out to Amazon, yet they still did nothing. He'd spent a lot of money to advertise his books on their platform, after all. In fact, that is how I learned about his book. I kept getting emails about it, and when I read the reviews, I thought it was strange that the plot seemed so similar to that of my novel. Further investigation confirmed my suspicions. People who try to game the system often have a loose sense of morality, and this is often grounded in a form of moral relativism. Strangely enough, my plagiarist wrote his first book about how he struggled with morality and how he was angry that his parents insisted on sending him to an expensive college when he didn't want to go. Poor baby. The book was a lengthy lament over how he just couldn't see why he needed to play by the same rules as everybody else. It seems that he still struggles with this issue. If I'm being silly, which I like to be, I blame modern physics for this young man's trouble. Relativistic thinking, with no absolute reference frame, is clearly confusing people about the nature of morality. This problem is compounded by compartmentalized thinking, another pillar of modern physics that limits or selects for people who can't comprehend whole object relations. For example, when men see women being abused in a porn film, this indulges their worst thoughts rather than allowing them to train themselves to forget their anger with their mothers. It inspires compartmentalized thinking rather than whole object relations. The idea that a person is not entirely bad or entirely good. People are sometimes good and sometimes bad, as circumstances permit. And compartmentalized relativistic thinking is epidemic. You see evidence of it all over the internet, a place that has attracted and enabled the bad behavior of the sorts of people who suffer from these sorts of ethical limitations. This is the reason that my first novel was plagiarized by a young man who used an online ghostwriter to rewrite it as a vehicle for his political ambitions. And this is the reason he was able to purchase 90,000 Twitter followers when a real author like Anne Rice has 180,000. This is the reason he was able to purchase hundreds of fake reviews to promote what he stole. His bad behavior was enabled by a system that has given him the illusion that there are no consequences for bad behavior. And I think we should make it easier for people like him to be good. There shouldn't be so much temptation everywhere for unethical authors. They are kind of like dogs chasing cars or balls. They can't help themselves. And I wonder if part of the problem isn't related to how our educational system is structured in a compartmentalized fashion. It sort of enables people to separate their morality from their actions and see themselves as good when they're being bad. And physics, with relativistic thinking and compartmentalization of concepts, it's it's a way in which we train our brains in fundamental ways. And I think that it's possible that we are using these systems of thought to enable bad behavior, that it's making it harder for people to think in moral ways. It's a bit of a stretch, but I think it's worth thinking about. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something that sparked you to think about something new, and I hope it also sparked some of your interest in maybe what other videos I've made and in the novels I've written. Until next time, thank you for watching.